out of the city and back into my neck of the woods. One of my hobbies is gold mining, and I want to do a series with my friends about going into old abandoned mines no one has seen in over hundreds of years or so. Needless to say, I know the mine shafts like the back of my hands. Inside, I could see really good. I didn't even need a flashlight. So I went in about a half mile and found a comfortable spot to lay down. The next morning when I woke up, it was pitch black and I couldn't see my hand in front of my face. I knew where I was even though I couldn't see. I found the side of the shaft to feel my way out. I could finally see a light at the end of the tunnel, about a half hour struggling through the darkness. When I got outside, I was myself again. John Ryder, but felt weak. I knew diamonds were the only fear. I'm sure Ethan either called the cops or was so freaked out he just didn't do anything at all. I could be sure I knew I couldn't go home. I went in to get a closer look. I was wrong. He did not call the cops. He called the Daily Planet. Reporters were swarmed all around my house. They did not believe Ethan as his story was far-fetched. Then all the news teams left. Though they all left, he did get the attention of one, Peter Parker, who works at the Daily Planet. That same day, Peter went over to Harry Osborn's house to see if he would help with the stakeout. Harry agreed. Peter knew the White Widow might hit the next closest diamond store. They were right as I was on my way to Auburn Old Town, where I faintly remember going once before in the past. Harry and Peter were posted up on the building across the street from the diamond store. When they were about to call in the night, just then a suspicious-looking gentleman walked by the diamond store. He turned around and walked by very fast. He walked by a few more shops and turned around again, but this time he was walking slowly. Peter and Harry knew something was up. John Ryder pulled a brick out of his jacket and threw it at the glass. After that, Harry and Peter turned into their superpowered characters. They swooped down thinking it would be easy as I was just a regular person. When they got a closer look and saw me behind the counter, they saw the same thing Ethan did when I transformed the first time. When I transformed this time, I was stronger and as I had absorbed more diamonds than the first time. First, Spiderman tried to catch me in a ball of webs. I just froze them with my webs. The Green Goblin tried to knock me out with his board, almost succeeding. I shook it off and sprung a web over the Green Goblin. Spider-Man went to his rescue, thinking he was done. He punched the web, shattering it into a million pieces. Harry was pale, cold, and wet, but not dead. That gave the White Widow enough time to escape without a trace. He headed back to the secret mine shaft where no one knows the location except for John and Ethan. Peter Parker and Harry Osborn headed back to Harry's house to brainstorm how they were going to catch this guy. Earlier that day, Mary Jane tried to call Peter to tell him that she found something in a glass that he needs to see. They arrived at Harry's house. Mary Jane came speeding up in her car. When she got out of the car, she had a glass in her hand, a cellophane covering the top of it. Harry and Peter both said at the same time, "What's going on?" She said, "I went over to my boyfriend John Ryder's house to see what all the commotion was about with the media and Ethan." She knew Ethan well and knows that he doesn't lie. When she looked around, she spotted a little purple blood drip in a glass moving around like it was lost. 3 of them headed up to Harry's lab where they could examine the blood drop and put their minds together. After examining the blood drop, it was like nothing they had ever seen before. It couldn't be diluted, it couldn't be separated, and it couldn't be duplicated. The blood drip seemed to have a direction. It was moving fast, but it was trying to get somewhere. We could follow it, but the only way we could find its home was if it wasn't moving. Now they know that the White Widow is John Ryder. They also know that after he robs a diamond store, His powers only last for a few hours. Mary Jane stepped up for me and said she knows me and that I have a good heart. Something happened to him and it is not good, Mary Jane said. You guys have to help him. We know he is weak when he is John Ryder, so that is the form we need him to be in when we undo the cellophane and put the blood drip next to him. The blood drip wasn't attracted to any of us, she said, and it wasn't acting like it wanted to hurt any of us. Mary Jane called Ethan to see where he thought he might try to rob next. Ethan said, "Oh, that's easy. I'm sure it's going to be Hangtown Placerville, downtown, where all those gift shops are." First, Ethan had an idea of trying to find his dad in the mine. He was the only other one who knew where it was. Harry, Peter, Mary Jane, Ethan, and the local law enforcement and a few friends of John Ryder set off in the mine. They all knew that. I knew that mine well, and all the chances of catching me were slim to none, but it was worth a shot. When they got to the entrance, it was covered with a giant rug, so it was obvious White Widow was in there. When they worked their way through the web and the White Widow snuck outside the shaft and stole the sheriff's SUV. Parker and Harry Osborn knew they could beat him to the suspected place he was going to rob. This time, they would be ready for him. Before he got a chance to soak up some diamonds, the Silver Surfer was already there. Little did they know, he drove the SUV right through the store, busting the cases up as he went through. The diamonds started absorbing into him like a waterfall. The battle was on. This whole time, the blood drip was trying to work its way to the host. It had been catching rides on people, cars, and trucks until it was in the mine, lost, wandering around. After the huge battle, it sent the White Widow running, scared back into the mine. By the time he hit the very back of the mine shaft, he was exhausted and passed out in a small creek that runs through the mine year-round. Later that night in the mine shaft, the blood spot had finally reached its goal and found him. When it touched his cheek, he woke up for a split second. His eyes flashed green and white on and off. Will John Ryder snap out of it and become the upstanding citizen he once was, or will he always have a